Well, welcome to another video. Fun fact, once upon a time I used to be a hearing aid technician. I've had lots of interesting jobs. What this means is my elderly neighbour and sometimes my wife and various other people who have hearing aids ask me to fix them. So let's get right into this one. I took my little USB microscope over to my 96-year-old neighbour's place where he has 4 hearing aids. He's lost track of which one is which. Pretty quickly on, we discovered that the wax filter on these ones was clogged. And the little bypass tube here is also completely occluded with wax. This is the case on all 4 of them. And these are a fairly late model, either Widex or Bernafon. I think these are Widex ones. They look a little bit the same. The design really hasn't changed a lot since about 2006 when I was working on these. In fact, 2004 I think is when I first started looking at it. In any case, this little white plug here is actually removable. At the time when I was looking at this first one, they hadn't enlightened me to the fact they have replacement wax filters in here. So I was trying to just get as much wax out of this as I could, but found it was blocked from the other side. So we're pretty much going to have to pop it out, change it. This is another hearing aid. This is the other side. Spraying a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to try and see if we can get all this impacted wax out. Heat changed about a dozen batteries at this point. So I've got my little hearing aid cleaning tool with the bendy wire on the end here. Just trying to dig a bit of wax out of that filter.
And further.
Thanks to RTX Voice, I can record the voiceover while I've got the air conditioner running. Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of like, it's pretty hopeless getting this filter clean. Mind you, this is about a 0.5 millimeter diameter filter, so it is not huge. Things look really big in this case, but it's actually pretty tiny work. You can barely see these things. So I sort of persevered, and this one is quite obviously blocked from the other side. So yeah, at this point we've kind of abandoned that. I turned my focus onto the bypass tube here. Basically a pressure relief. It acts a bit like the eustachian tube in your ear. If this is blocked, your hearing aids are really uncomfortable to use. They feel pressured, or if the barometric pressure changes, your hearing aids are going to be really uncomfortable. We're just checking the 2 microphones here to see if there's anything. There's a little bit of alcohol in them. That dries up when I hit the puffer a few seconds. That's your button. We're checking for function there. And we're just inspecting a couple of things like the removal little bud here. This is basically a piece of fishing line with a knob on the end. That is actually custom designed that way, but it's pretty much what it looks like. Filter on this is a little bit better, but we're just going to pop this out with a little wire, because at this point they enlightened me that, or actually somewhere after this, they told me they have spare ones. Down that hole is your little, basically your little speaker. They're a pneumatic diaphragm that pushes air up the tube. And brush a bit of the wax away because it's softened up with the isopropyl alcohol. We're going to clean up our area underneath. We're going to inspect the rear side of that wax filter. There's about 100 different types or different ways of handling wax entry into hearing aids. Generally, the best way is like a wax filter or a wax plug like this that's removable. It's just generally straightforward and much easier. But there are little doors and all sorts of other stuff you can get that does the job. But this is the way Widex went. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of time here trying to grip it with a pair of tweezers. My good pair of tweezers has gone MIA, so I'm using my Victorinox tweezers at this stage. And I'm using my puffer here to try and pop some of that wax back through the other side once we softened it up with some alcohol. But that was a pretty fruitless endeavor. And at this point, I've got about 3 or 4 people standing behind me, giving me running commentary on the back of the microscope. So it's a little distracting. That, and I'm having to kneel down against the coffee table because there was nowhere to work in this house. And my legs are rapidly going numb. So this was not great. And with multiple sclerosis, I sort of have some issues with sensitivity in my legs as is. So this was getting a little frustrating. And somewhere about here, they said, oh, by the way, we've got some spare ones. And so this one was actually relatively clear, probably the only one of the other ones. But there is a bit of a problem with these older 2. So we had a bit of a look down in here, wipe a bit of the wax sideways. Hopefully it doesn't get down in the earphone area. There is a little bit of wax that's leaked past that, so we're going to try and just scrape a bit of that out of this canal here. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to clear out, but sometimes it's not. Now, they have changed these things themselves, these little wax filters in the past, and I found in a later one of these, they've actually pushed it all the way in without realizing. And there was actually 2 separate grills stuck inside the canal here. So this is a replacement filter that comes pre-attached to this little yellow tool. You poke it in and give it a bit of a wriggle and it pops out. So that's pretty much straightforward to put them in. So here's another one that we've taken it out of. I'm hoping RTX voice is filtering out the engine noise in the background of the neighbours hooning. But anyway, we're putting another plug in the right-hand one here. And that little canal on the side still needs a bit more of a clean. So probably going to give that a bit more of a touch-up while we're here. I've got a special tool for doing that. There's lots of different styles of tools for these, but I still have a collection of these from the days I was doing this. That pops out the other side of the hearing aid. You briefly saw that there for a moment. I'm sort of working here while I've got a commentary, so this voice is being recorded after the fact. Trying to get that last little bit of stuck wax out of there. Try and get it as clear as we can. Sometimes that's about as good as we're going to get. We give everything a good soak in IPA after this, and just use that brush to get anything else off. Alrighty, so I think that's it for the first 2. Now the second 2 had some issues as well, and I'll talk about them when we get to them. This is kind of, I've got people in the background talking to me. What's in front here is the battery tester. I was testing the hearing aid batteries, so we're going to skip for a moment here. So skipping forward, this is the second pair he's got, and you see more like what these wax filters looked like when I first got them. So we're popping that one straight away. Now that we know we've got a whole 3 boxes of spares, we're going to pop them out straight off the bat. Now you'll notice that the little side vent here, it looks a bit funny shaped when you get to see it, and that's because it's broken. The path for that is actually broken inside the shell of the hearing aid. And what we're looking at here, as I can see pretty quickly, is one of the grill meshes from a previous filter that's been changed, and it's actually stuck in the canal in here. So we pried one of those out. I believe there was actually 2 of them in there. So we got one out, and then there was another one stuck in there, which I think we ended up leaving in there because it was very well glued into the side, but it wasn't impinging on the function of the aid. Now there's that little orange ring in there that could also be a frequency filter that's been inserted in there. But you can see pretty clearly here, this is the bottom of one of those wax filters in there that's been pushed in when somebody's tried to pry it out or something and done it incorrectly. So we got that out. That's clear. We can see straight through to the earphone now, which is good. You can see the diaphragm in there. And I think that was another one of those filters pushed in on the side there. It's hard to tell whether it was just a bit of wax or something in there. I spent a few minutes trying to get that out. A bit hard to tell what that was. So this just gives us a slightly better look there. I think what I was actually seeing is a bit of wax built up on the inside of the sleeve that connects to the earphone there. So we're pretty much going to leave that. So we're going to skip forward just a little bit here, and now just give it a bit of a brush off. We're giving it a big soak in isopropyl alcohol again, and we're going to turn our attention to the vent here, which is a little bit broken out. I think somebody's tried to shove something through here that shouldn't have been in there to clean it, and they've broken the vent inside the hearing aid. But these are his old set, which I think have been replaced, and rightfully so if that's the case. This little vent broken through inside the shell can actually cause a lot of internal feedback, and it can make it pretty hard to sort of hear properly and clearly. So we're just poking a lot of the wax out the other side. This was a real challenge. I had to go back the other way through, and I could definitely feel that little access way is broken. So the inside of this is probably full of wax. And I've had to open these up before and clean that out. And those were the days where I went home covered in hearing aid wax or ear wax, because I'd been doing like 50 or 60 of these a day. We get the puffer in here just to help evaporate the alcohol out of the earphone. Sometimes you don't get real good airflow through there when you put the little wax filter back in, and the alcohol won't evaporate. So I take a point to blow it out before we fit the new filter back in. I think I went back and gave that a little capillary a bit of an extra clean out before we put it back together. Now this is the other side of the second set, and we can see the little bypass tube there is definitely blocked on this one too. So we're just trying to get a little bit of the wax out of this and getting a little bit of alcohol out of there. Sometimes a little bit of moisture or a bit of sweat or something can push past there and get into the earphone too. So it's just, I want to make sure that's all properly cleaned. Getting the little puffer in here to blow the alcohol out. So yeah, I think we're going to put the filter in first. I can't remember which order I did this in, but we're definitely looking at that blocked capillary tube, and that is in with some fairly solid wax. Now, a fun fact, you can get a wax liquefying spray that helps with this, but diet, predominantly if you get a good diet and you stay hydrated, your earwax will generally come with it, and you won't block your hearing aids up so much. But given the age, he's doing pretty well to be as lucid and as sharp as this bloke is. He does pretty well. So we're just, basically it's hard to see what I'm doing under this microphone, but we're just showing that little cleaning tool in there, getting all the wax out. We're nearly done here. We haven't got much more to go. So we go back over to the earphone port there. I'm going to blow it out with the puffer yet again. And we're going to whack another filter in. I had to go off camera here to grab another filter. Again, they're attached to this little yellow tool. You pop them in, that little flange pops off on the inside. Give it a gentle wriggle and it pops back out. Easy done. So a little bit more cleaning to do around the aperture of that port there. And we'll just get the brush in and give it a bit of a wipe off. So yeah, we're pretty well done at this point. I had to go and test some batteries, make sure they're good. Put a set in and chuck it in my hands, cup it over, and basically see if it feeds back. Can't remember what I did here. Did I have to have something else? I think we were basically just discussing at this point. So this is pretty much it. So I hope this was interesting and a day in the life of hearing aid service. So we'll see you in the next one. Hope you had fun.